basically, I'll be dealing with, it has already been mentioned, I'll be touching upon some of the emerging molecularly engineered materials, which includes both
Ma'am,
energy as well as.
can you
Hello?
can you click that slideshow button? Slideshow button.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'll be touching upon molecularly engineered materials for various environmental and energy applications. So I have planned my presentation in two parts. The first part deals exclusively with solar energy materials, as it can be seen. And in this case, I'll be touching upon how these solar energy materials can be put into use for generation of different type of solar fuels, how it can be manipulated or tailored for carbon capture, valorization, and sequestration. And also, then I'll touch upon the application of these materials for water and energy nexus with specific reference to its use in solar water disinfection. Now, coming to environmental applications, I'll be touching upon a very new concept of energy and environment nexus. Of course, if it has not been discussed by Nitin, I'll go into the details of it. And then how these environmental materials have been put into use for some very important applications. I'll be touching upon, like in water, how it has been put into use, and then in air with specific reference to green crackers. Initially, I had planned my presentation to start with solar energy utilization, but incidentally, yesterday evening I got a call from ministry. JS is holding a meeting on green crackers yet again today. So it may be required for me to go in between. So I thought I'll start with green crackers because that is one of the most important area which we should all become conversant with. In this year, it's going to be a very important development for all of us. So I thought I'll start with green crackers and then go into solar energy utilization applications. Now, in our division, which is also known as Environmental Materials Division, we work on developing different kind of low cost and engineered materials as it is shown in the slide. And during the course of my presentation, we'll be touching upon slowly each of this, and I'll be majorly focusing today on air pollution control and solar fuels, and the different materials illustrated over here have been put into use. In specific, some very good nanomaterials and nanocomposites have been put into use, which I shall touch upon during the course of my presentation. Of course, I'm not going into the nanomaterial applications and the green chemistry related things, because I'm sure it must have all been touched upon in the past few presentations which have been there. But I'll be focusing on engineered materials with reference to tailoring its property using some functional molecules. Now, when it comes to tailoring or engineered materials, there are two ways to do it. Either we synthesize the natural analogs which are available in nature as such. Like we all know, we have zeolites which are naturally available zeolites, but we also synthesize zeolites in the laboratory using the same hydrothermal condition which exists in nature. That is one way of doing it. Or otherwise, we have a lot of materials, like we realized when we were working in environmental discipline, it's majorly a multidisciplinary area. So we realized that it was not possible for us to synthesize different type of materials. So we thought, let's tailor the properties of the materials, different kind of materials which we are having, and let's see if we can put it into use for the targeted applications. And in doing so, we did lot of in situ as well as ex situ modification of the materials, and we ended up with a variety of solvent, catalyst, composites which we are testing for different applications. So these are some of the natural materials and molecules. Zeolites I've already mentioned. Algae, we have used it as a template for synthesizing nanostructured titania, and then chlorophyll is a molecule which we are all conversant with. We have tried to put into for developing catalytic material. Similarly, some natural materials like chitosan, which we are all familiar with, has been put into use as a template for designing different kind of materials. So very briefly, I'll touch upon some of the engineered materials which has very briefly, I'll touch upon some of the engineered materials which have been designed by us. Uh, this is a case of diatomite. Here, what we have done is we have, in case it is required for us to use it for water-based applications like for defluoridation, we are functionalizing it with alumina, in specific hydrated alumina, so that the efficiency of the diatomite improves for using it as a defluoridation material. Similarly, the same material, if we are functionalizing it in functional molecules like titanium, we definitely can put it into use as a photocatalyst. So this is what we are doing as far as functionalization.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is breaking and not clearly audible. So, if you have a microphone with you, can you use microphone?
Am I'll come closer to the PC and I think I'll try to raise my voice a little bit.
Yeah, now it is clearly audible. When you are with PC, close to the
Yeah.
PC, it is audible. Yeah,
Okay, fine, fine. Okay, is it okay now?
yeah, it is okay now.
So, okay, I was talking about diatomite and how we are trying to functionalize it using different molecules. If we are interested in defluoridation, we use hydrated alumina. If we are interested in using it as a photocatalyst, we functionalize it with functional photocatalytic materials. Okay. Now, coming to the second thing, ex situ modification. We all know that titania is being put into use for photocatalytic application. It's definitely a low cost, chemically stable material, and I personally feel that it has very good properties because of which it should definitely be exploited as a photocatalytic material. However, it has certain limitations that it cannot be put into use for visible light absorption. So, how do we modify it? We can improve it by using certain functional molecules like chlorophyll, or we can incorporate certain nanoparticles like AU or PT, so that we are able to enhance the light harvesting ability of titania, and we can transform it into a UV visible or a broadband material instead of just a UV material. So this is what we are trying to do for different kind of functional materials, and I'll be touching upon the different materials during the course of my presentation. But now I'll straight away come to one very important application of the engineered materials, which we have put it into use, and that happens to be a green firecrackers. I'm sure you've all heard about the green firecrackers last year. It was discussed a lot in TV, newspapers, etc. So I definitely feel good and proud of sharing that this work has been carried out by our parent organization, that is CSIR, and our institute, that is NIRI, took the lead in this particular activity. Now, in this presentation, I'll briefly touch upon the firecrackers, and how green chemistry and nanoparticles have been put into use in this particular application. I strongly believe that fireworks is one of the application, probably uh, application of chemistry, which resonates very well with general public. However, we all understand that it has a lot of environmental pollution issues associated with it, and therefore we need to develop reduced emission crackers. However, invariably, we have been facing three very important questions: why we need to do green crackers, what are green crackers, and how are they prepared. So during the course of my presentation, these three FAQs shall be addressed, and the different approaches which have been used by us, and how we classify different crackers as green firecrackers by using different emissions and testing facilities, that I shall touch upon. And then some of the firecrackers which have already been introduced into the market as green firecrackers, which are having reduced emissions. I'll just touch upon those firecrackers which are basically using green pyrotechnic formulations. Now, I'll answer the first question, why green crackers? Just for a quick recap, firecrackers are of growing environmental concerns, majorly because of the emissions of particulate matter, SO2 and NO2, which is emitted. So, the Apex Code imposed a ban on firecrackers in October 2017. However, you all have to understand that Indian fireworks industry has an annual turnover of more than 6,000 crores, and it's growing at a rate of about 10%. And it also provides employment opportunities to more than 5 lakh families directly or indirectly. Therefore, Dr. Harshvardhan ji, our Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, exhorted the CSIR community that we should address this issue of growing environmental concerns of reducing the emissions, but also protect the growing economy of fireworks. So obviously the solution does not lie in banning fireworks, but the solution lies in making the fireworks which has significantly reduced emissions. And we as environmentalists strongly believe that in any kind of problem, the solution does not lie in banning that particular activity or industry, but we should do it in such a way that we do not harm the environment. So with this in background, a mega project was initiated way back in January 2018, in which different laboratories, including NIRI, SICRI, CIRI, so on and so forth, participated. Now, that was why we need to do green crackers. And now, coming to the question, why it is named as green crackers. Well, you have been hearing about green chemistry. I understand that there was a lecture yesterday also by Professor. I'm sure this 12 principles of green chemistry, etc., have been touched upon. And why we name it as green crackers? Because of these four factors which I have mentioned over here. First and foremost, it's generating less of emissions. Secondly, we are reducing the usage of chemicals, and obviously, it addresses atom economy. And third, we are using less of toxic chemicals like barium nitrate, and we have improved the efficiency of the systems by introducing certain sorption and catalytic efficiency. So that was why. Now coming to what are green crackers. This is the definition which has been filed as an affidavit in the Apex Code, and I would be very happy if you all try to understand these definitions, and as and when these products are going to be introduced into the market, we should all try to assess whether these are the firecrackers which are actually available in the market, which should be available in the market. So basically, the definition can be categorized into two groups. One is the improved fireworks or the firecrackers, in which there are certain modifications which are being made in the conventional firecrackers which are there. Like we are, they are using lot of ash. You know, it's unbelievable, but it happens to be true that they were using lot of ash in the firecrackers. So I'm sure you all understand that if the ash, which is normally a highly combustible material, which is added to the firecrackers, then it will be definitely eliminated as a or emitted as a particulate matter. Secondly, they were using excess of raw materials than is required for essentially having the functional performance. So that we have optimized. And thirdly, these two combinations are accompanied with the use of functional materials, which I shall touch upon. These functional materials, in the presence of these two combinations, leads to suppression of dust, that is suppression of particulate matter, as well as sorption of SO2, NO2, because of which there is expected to be a reduction in particulate matter by 30%, and also there is reduction in gaseous emission. So if a firecracker is meeting a minimum of particulate matter reduction by 30%, or it is reducing the particulate emission by 20% and 10% of gaseous emission, then it definitely comes into the green cracker category. Now, the second category, deals with a totally new composition. Now, when I will take you through the composition, you'll realize that there is an oxidizer, there is a metal fuel, and there is a reducing agent which is traditionally used. So, if we are changing any of these compositions with a new molecule other than what is being used in the conventional firecrackers, then it comes into this category of new formulation. And again, the levels are the same. It should have either 30% reduction in the particulate matter, or there should be 20% reduction in the particulate matter and 10% reduction in the gaseous emission. So I'm very happy to share with you that last year we have launched these green crackers. It was the launching happened in. I'm sorry, there's some mismatch in the screen probably, and you're not able to see that the green crackers was launched on 5th of October in New Delhi by our honorable minister, and that is our DG, and this of course is our director. We have been demonstrating the use of these green firecrackers to more than 500 firework manufacturers, and I'm very happy to share with you that we have transferred this technology more than 380. The number of 325 is dynamic, it's growing every day, and we have transferred the technology to more than 380 firework manufacturers. So, what I really wanted to impress here is how important the role of chemistry was in fireworks, especially green chemistry in addressing environmental concern, which resulted into heavy repercussions on the firework industry. But now they are quite satisfied, and they have now come forward and adopted these green pyrotechnic formulations, which is resulting into a reduced usage of chemicals as well as emissions. Now, coming to the composition of fireworks and firecrackers, composition wise, it essentially consists of a fuel, which is normally charcoal, aluminum, titanium, so on and so forth. Then oxidizing agents, which are usually nitrates, chlorates, based on potassium and nitrate and strontium. Then, of course, we need binder for a structural integrity. Then reducing agents like sulfur and charcoal, and colorants like strontium, barium, copper, which are majorly some of toxic metals, which the use of which should be minimized. Okay, so this is what essentially the fireworks consist of, and the bottom shows you the different colors which we get by using the different materials. So I'll quickly take you through the energetic materials which are normally put into use in the pyrotechnic formulations. Now, if we go into the definition of energetic materials, then it probably is put into use for explosives, for propellants, and for pyrotechnics. So, energetic materials are basically categorized for explosives, propellants, and pyrotechnic depending on their formulations and intended use. And it is generally, you all understand that it is a high energetic state which is achieved mostly by different type of reaction. So this is the categorization of explosive and propellant. I'll not go into the details of this, but I'll come straight away to the pyrotechnic formulations. Pyrotechnics are basically mixture of materials which are capable of combustion when they are suitably ignited to produce a special effect. And that special effect could be sound or it could be light. And during the course of my presentation, you will see how the formulations differ when we have to put into use for sound application or when we have to put into use for light application. These are some more basics about pyrotechnics. Pyrotechnics are traditionally mixture of substances which is in high contrast to the high explosives, which contains majorly one molecule like TNT, etc., which we are aware of. Then, as I've already mentioned, it consists of three components. Very important thing is the third one. Why we are making the pyrotechnic formulations? It's a solid state reaction. Okay, so the homogeneous sample is absent, and the particle size of the And other
No voice is coming, ma'am. No voice is coming.
other
Hello.
hello,
We can hear you.
elements which are essentially and our country. It also has lot of military applications, like it is being put as missile propellants, flares, igniters, so on and so forth. So developing green pyrotechnic formulations has lot of significance, and this gives you more details and applications about the different materials which are put into use. Reducing agents are normally sulfur and charcoal. Non-metals such as charcoal and sulfur, as illustrated over here, are put into use. Fuels are usually titanium and aluminum. Now, oxidizers are the one which needs to be understood more in details, because they are the ones which is in controversy, which you all understand. There's a lot of issue regarding the use of barium nitrate. So traditionally, what is being put into use is barium nitrate, potassium nitrate, perchlorate, so on, ammonium nitrate to some extent, so on and so forth. So how we can reduce the use of these oxidizers, which will be touched upon. And I would also like to say that pyrotechnic formulations are basically thermodynamically very metastable, and they have inherent risk associated with them. Therefore, we have to be very careful how we are handling it. We cannot subject it to hygroscopic conditions. At the same time, the particle size should not be such that it can affect. Then coloring agents are very important, which I've already mentioned. So these are the rules which, as per the explosive rules of 2008, which gives you the definition of fireworks, which differentiates it from explosives and propellants. Fireworks means low hazard explosives, which is comprising of composition or a device which is manufactured with a view produce color, fire, or flame, or light effects, sound effects, smoke, etc., which is or a combination of all these effects. This is what fireworks mean. And firework combination is a chemical compound or a mechanically mixed preparation of an explosive or inflammable substance that is being put into use for different applications. So these are some of the metals and their emitting species. I'll not go into the details because of paucity of times, but if you're interested, I'll definitely discuss with you. But yes, this is a very important thing. These are the metals which are essentially used for fireworks application. The first is the gunpowder, which is a low explosive which releases nearly 3 megajoules of energy per kg, and it is essentially because there is a redox reaction, potassium nitrate, sulfur, and carbon. It has very good potency. It is a stoichiometry balanced formulation, which I'll show you in the next slide. The ingredients which have to be used have to be of very good quality. The particle size definitely has to be lower, because there's a solid reaction, and homogeneity is very important. So this is the gunpowder, which is usually put into use in the fuse, which is there when we are lighting the sound emitting cracker or the flower pot. And this is the composition. Mostly 75% of it is the oxidizer, 13% is about carbon, and sulfur is the balance, of course. So based on these compositions, this is a stoichiometry balanced equation. So if this is being put into use, then definitely the emission of unreacted residue will be less. But normally it is not the case. Lot of unbalancing is happening. Particle size is not correct. The homogeneity is not there, because of which the emission is increasing. So these kind of studies have been done at our end, and we have optimized the particle size. Especially, we all understand that as the particle size is going down, like as we go towards nano, obviously the reaction is very fast, it is very vigorous. So we have to strike a balance in such a way so that we do not have the unreacted residue, and at the same time it's not so vigorous that it leads to any kind of hazard or accident. So that is as far as gunpowder is concerned. Now coming to the second powder which is put into use, this is known as the flash powder. The energy which is emitted from flash powder is 3 times higher as compared to gunpowder. Gunpowder gives you 3 megajoules of energy per kg. As compared to that, flash powder gives you 9 megajoules. In this case, the aluminum powder is put into use, and the potassium nitrate, that is the oxidizer, is used in relatively less quantity as compared to the gunpowder. This mixture is definitely more stable, and it is less susceptible to hygroscopicity. And in this case, the composition which is put into use is nearly 58 to 59% of the potassium nitrate. Aluminum is to the tune of about 30 to 30%, and sulfur is to the tune of about 9 to 10%. Now, when we look into all the stoichiometry equations which we have seen, we have to understand that the oxygen balance is very, very important when we talk about the pyrotechnic formulations. So, what is oxygen balance? Well, the potential of an oxidizer in a mixture or is determined by how much of oxygen is being released, and the value which is usually interpreted is it's coming in the next equation. It is W, which is based on certain equation parameters. When an oxygen balance is zero, then it means that the stoichiometric mixture of fuel atoms and oxidizing atoms are totally balanced. When it is negative, it indicates a system in which there is a possibility of unburned fuel being left. If a positive oxygen balance is there, then obviously nitrates or the oxidizers are in excess. So it is always a positive oxygen balance which is favored. I'm not very sure how well this equation is can be seen, but this is the way the oxygen balance is usually calculated. It has been done for one of the system, that is for gunpowder. Now, coming to the emission reduction, which I've been talking about, and I'll just touch upon this very quickly. I've already mentioned that particulate matter, SO2, NO2, these are the pollutants of major concern. Fireworks are a source of particulate matters ranging from 1 to 10 microns. And as I've already explained in the background, this majorly happens because of unreacted alumina or aluminium, or it could be unreacted oxidizers, or it could be a half converted product, or it could be the oxidized product of aluminium. So this all gives you particulate matter. Color, I've already mentioned, we are using a lot of toxic metals for generating color. And as we are using nitrates, we obviously end up with a lot of NO2 species, and we are using sulfur. So obviously SO2 will be there. We use gun powder in the fuse. So obviously we'll end up with a lot of C and CO2. So with this in background, this was the mega project which I've already mentioned. I'm sorry, there is some change in the compatibility probably. So there's a lot of shifting which has happened. So this is the mega project which was initiated by CSIR, in which we have 4 components, that is the raw materials and compositional analysis, the emission and sound testing, the green cracker formulation, and the post-combustion systems. I'll be focusing majorly on green cracker formulations today. Now, when we talk about green cracker formulations, yeah, please excuse me. I think I have an important call from GS. I just have to take it. Just 1 minute, please.
Dear participants, there will be a Small break. Be online. Madam is just coming back.
Okay, I'm back. How are green crackers made? So these are some of the approaches which are being used for us for designing green crackers. As I've already mentioned, improved formulations, new formulations, and in situ capture kind of things are the different ways of designing different green crackers. In improved formulations, I've already mentioned, we are reducing the ash content, we are reducing the size, we are reducing the use of chemicals. In new formulations, we have substituted barium nitrate with other oxidizers, which obviously has reduced the use of barium nitrate. And in situ capture, in this, we have tried to design certain new crackers in which when we are coating it with materials, which also includes a lot of nanocomposites, then the material is automatically getting absorbed and sorbed onto the material. So with this in view, these are the different materials which have been designed by us. The first relates to functional zeolite. In this material, we are storing oxidizer and fuel. So obviously, you all understand that zeolites are highly porous material. If we are storing the fuel and the oxidizer, it is in nano size. The reactivity will be far better. We have filed a patent on this. We have transferred the technology to several groups which I have already mentioned. Second is the functional calcium peroxide. This is a very unique material. It's a premium product for us, which we call it as a 3-in-1 premium product. It's a game changer because it releases oxygen as well as dust separation, and third is the functional iron peroxide. Besides that, we are also developing different kind of functional materials, like we are trying to encapsulate sulfur and oxidizer using some molecules like pani, based on the work which was reported way back in JAX in 2013. So this is a very interesting development which we are pursuing. Then we are also looking into lot of nanoparticles and enhancing the reactivity, like we are using a combination of ternary materials like titanium, aluminum, and boron. So obviously the use of chemical is 1/10 of that we are using presently. So obviously it will have a lot of implications on the emissions. Besides that, these are the different materials and the waste materials which have been put in use by us for different kind of green crackers which have been designed. So what was our target? So when it was coming to sound emitting cracker, it is very well defined that the noise level should not increase more than 125 dBA or 145 dBA at 4-meter distance for individual firecrackers, and for color or light emitting cracker, it should not exceed more than 9 dBA, and accordingly, we have set up a facility at our institute in which we place the crackers and then measure the sound at a distance of about 4 meters when it comes to sound level cracker. So this is a facility which is existing at MIRI, and you are all free to visit us anytime and have a look at this facility. Now, emissions I've already discussed with you. What are the emission we are targeting with respect to particulate matter or gaseous emissions? So, based on that, we have developed the baseline values for different popular firecrackers which are put into use in our country, like the gold sparklers, the Chinese cracker, the maroon, the ground chucker, and these are the baseline values which we have arrived at, and these are the SO2 and NO2 baseline values. Those who are interested in having details on this, please, I'll be sharing some of these slides with you, so you can have a look at it. Now, this is a state-of-art facility which has been developed at our institute, and now this facility is being replicated across pan India for assessing the emissions coming from the different firecrackers, and this is being done in collaboration with IIT Mumbai as well as CPCB. So very shortly, this state-of-art facility which is existing at our premises shall be replicated across the country to assess the emission testings, whether they are meeting the baseline values which I had touched upon in the previous 2 slides. So these are some more details about the fire emission testing facility. So in case you visit, we can show this to you. This is an online system wherein we measure the particulate matter, the gas analysis, so on and so forth is done at our institute. Now, coming to the new and improved formulations. Yeah, just a minute, please. Yes, Pankaj Kumar. Bas minute. Just a minute. I'm sorry, I have to take a break. I've been called by JS. There is some urgency in Delhi. I just have to attend the meeting and then just come back to you in 5 to 10 minutes.
So,
Okay?
so dear participants, we will take a small break of 10 minutes and then Madam will again join us, right? So please take a break from my side. You just virtually have your tea and we will again rejoining the meeting after 10 minutes, right? Be online. Let this session is as it is on and just go and take a virtual tea. Again, we will rejoin after 10 minutes. Thank you.
Send your comment on Monday, Tuesday. Good morning, Dr. Salman. Good morning, madam. I'm sorry for morning late. नहीं नो सॉरी नो apologies बस इस काम को खत्म करते हैं actually Chinese that was my blood clot.
So the point is considered. Apprentice. So I have to write
Yes, please. What query you are having? Who is this fellow? IB Swalply. What query you are having? Why for you raise your hands?
नहीं खा रही क्या?
अभी नहीं खा लो, अभी नहीं खा लो। मासी, मासी, मासी। हाँ, ओ यार, जाइए तो गए।
So, dear participants, sorry for inconvenience caused. I'm hoping everyone is online. Sorry for inconvenience caused because uh, the director of NIRI suddenly called our today's expert for a very urgent meeting on the environmental aspects. So she could not decline that meeting and she just went to attend that meeting. In this particular circumstances and situation, I will suggest to end this session with whatever talk is completed till time. I will ask her to share her PPT to all the participants, and if maybe possible, we will try to keep this talk in the latter part of time, right? So thank you very much. We are rejoining at 12 o'clock for our next session. So I declare that this session is ending here. Thank you very much.